Is it true you were childhood mates with Gavin Wood?
And BEEFY?
Yeah.
The problem was...
liquid staking, so you basically...
This bit is, a bit more dangerous. Yeah, some of the community have been very fiscally conservative. I'm not sure I believe in that. Eventually this thing takes off or it dies. There's always bigger whales.
The launch team wishes you good luck and Godspeed.
Space Monkeys blasting off with Alistair Mark Stewart. He's the lead scientist at the Web3 Foundation, and we're very lucky to have him here with us today. Alistair, welcome to Space Monkeys. Thanks for being here. I think you've been kind of working toward this position for several decades, probably before blockchain was even a thing. You've kind of been on this journey.
Back in the day, I went to university, and then I went to university again because I had nothing better to do.
Yeah.
And the second time I did computer science, went back, did a PhD, did some postdocs, and along the way, I, after a friend, got into, Ethereum in the early days.
Yeah.
So I sort of looked at a bit about what the research was for blockchain then. I went to DevCon 0, makes a difference.
Okay.
But I didn't give up my day job then. And I sort of, 6 years ago, I started working on Polkadot. Then blockchain was interesting, but I had other things to do. But at some point, it was time to turn that into the main job. So so 6 years ago, I joined the Web3 Foundation. I was the first researcher. I've kind of had a principal role in designing stuff for Polkadot since.
And is it true you were childhood mates with Gavin Wood?
Yeah, okay, so when I say a friend got into Ethereum, I mean Gavin Wood.
Okay.
We were at secondary school together.
Gotcha.
Hung around for some years after that, yeah.
Okay. What were you guys doing back then as far as computer science goes? Were you thinking about this together?
No.
No, okay.
No, I mean, there's some discussion of economics, some discussion of code. I mean, Gab was always interested in virtual machines and things, but like blockchain was, a whole different thing.
Yeah. You kind of got in with Ethereum, you said. So Bitcoin, when it started, it was kind of off the radar.
This crazy thing, right?
Okay.
All these libertarians are interested in this, and along with many people, no one thought about this enough to realize this might actually be a good idea. This might actually be world changing. I don't, but before anything takes off, you don't know.
Right.
But when Ethereum came along, it was obviously better than all these other things that were doing okay at the time. And so you knew that it was going to work. And Polkadot, you could tell from the beginning it was going to work.
What was it about Ethereum that kind of made you take notice, made you realize this wasn't some crazy weird thing?
No, it was still some crazy weird thing. But I went and looked at what people were... the first thing it was established, there were loads of altcoins by that point, right? 1 million people thought Bitcoin, we still have Dogecoin and things today, but there were some very... very strange things at the time, and they didn't do anything interesting until Ethereum came along and put a virtual machine on a blockchain, on a computer we can all agree on, and Polkadot was just a natural evolution, as the story goes, right?
That's interesting. A computer we can all agree on?
One of the ideas behind Ethereum, Polkadot, and all these other things, we'd have one... we have consensus, but what are we having consensus on? We're having consensus on computation. We define the rules, and we all then people do stuff, and we all agree on what happened as a result of the rules.
Yeah.
And that was the idea behind Ethereum, but it was not scalable. People were talking, back in 2014 about how to get proof of stake, and Ethereum just did that. And they were talking also about scaling it, and that didn't happen the way anyone envisioned.
Do you think, would you consider that scaling is happening on Ethereum?
So I think that what we're doing on Polkadot is just going to scale better than what you can do with rollups on Ethereum.
I see.
Even when they get their data sharding in. That's something we should be selling.
Yeah, okay.
Something that Polkadot is already doing that I think. So I've been doing this work on trying to get out this story. We came up with some things for Polkadot that I think people don't realize how good they are. Still.
Interesting. So when you first got to the Web3 Foundation, what was the first project you were working on? Like, how did you work yourself in?
Well, I mean, we were discussing how to do everything, how to do proof of stake, how to do consensus.
Yeah.
So the first sort of thing I did by myself when I was the only guy here was Grandpa.
Right.
I came up with the theory, and then Rob Habermeyer went along and just started coding it then and there, just as soon as I finished proving that this thing actually works. Very different from my academic experience, right?
Sure, right.
We publish these papers, we prove everything's going to work, and we have something that's better than everyone else, and then no one uses it.
Yeah, right.
This was a different experience in blockchain.
Right, here you were making
stuff.
theory, and then somebody has just started whipping it up and seeing if it would work, right?
And that's incredible. Yeah, that's different.
Can you give us a little overview of what Grandpa is? Because we've been hearing a lot about BEEFY lately, and I know that BEEFY is this finality layer that kind of lags on Grandpa.
So the bottom layer, we have longest chain, like Bitcoin.
Yeah.
So Sassafras and Babe and now Sassafras, they're sort of proof of stake versions of that.
Okay.
Where everyone should look at what chain is longest. But the problem with that, so it's great if I have some light clients, I'm running Polkadot Treasury or whatever, and I want to know what the right block is. I have to look at the longest chain. That means I need to be talking to lots of people, because if I'm only talking to one person and they can give me this chain that's like way shorter than the longest chain,
sure,
and I have no idea unless I'm talking to everyone else that this is true, right?
So you have to sample a lot of opinions on what the longest chain is.
Yeah.
Okay.
And also you have to wait a bit. So maybe this next guy didn't see this block before, and there's going to be a fork.
Okay.
There can be lots of forks, and that's why in Bitcoin we ended up waiting an hour for confirmations, and for 6 confirmations. And maybe with 12 seconds, like on Ethereum, you can do better than that. But you wanted something much faster.
Yeah.
So the point of Grandpa is for the validators to agree on something they've already agreed on, but they don't know they've already agreed on. Certainly no one else knows they've already agreed on. So we have this longest chain, and everyone sees this as the longest chain, but they don't know. Maybe there's another chain they don't see.
Sure.
So the validators come along and they vote on what they think is the longest chain. And then we try and agree on that. And in Grandpa, we try to make it flexible. So the thing is at the time, Grandpa isn't good for the reason we thought it was good.
What did you think?
At the time, we were thinking, okay, people were doing Byzantine agreement protocols with, maybe 100 people, like Cosmos still has all these chains with 100 validators, maybe 150 now. But we were aiming for 1,000. We think, okay, maybe this doesn't work. Maybe we can't scale this up. So we want a protocol where maybe we don't vote every block, maybe we vote every few blocks. And Ethereum were thinking about that. They came up with this capital FFG. They vote every 64 blocks. But then it was like, we don't want to vote every 64 blocks. That's a long time to wait. So we'll design something that's flexible, that will agree on whatever we've already agreed on. Then it turned out that, I don't know, the parity guys were so good at networking compared to some other people, maybe, that we could get 1,000 guys to agree on in 2 seconds on something. It's like, I didn't think this was possible.
Wow.
And that meant maybe we could have been voting on every block. But we wanted to secure parachains through cryptoeconomics. Like, this is part of our idea. We had Fisherman at the time. We don't have Fisherman anymore because we have this ANV, this Validity Validity protocol I was talking about. And that means that, when we decide what's happened on the parachain, we might later decide that it was wrong. Someone might say, well, some validator, in this case, it would have been a Fisherman. Now it's validators who are checking, might now come along and say, this thing that we put in the chain is wrong.
How long after could that happen?
Up to a minute, but or maybe more. But we want it so that in Grandpa, we don't agree on this thing unless we think this is not going to happen.
Okay.
Right. So basically, we'd slow down finality if there was, if there weren't enough people saying that this thing was good, we would slow down. And because Grandpa wasn't connected, like to Casper FFG, can finalize, we have votes every 32 blocks, or Tendermint, whatever, we have vote every block. Grandpa doesn't care on what rate you produce the blocks.
I see.
And so it's like, when we want to agree on this thing, we agree on this thing.
Okay.
When the validators think we should be agreeing on this thing, we do it. And this is what turned out to be good. So it turned out we could have done on every block if it wasn't for the way we were doing parachains.
I see. Okay. So Grandpa comes along and says, this is what's final. We're never going back. We can't go back.
Yeah.
Everybody agrees.
Yeah, but with the tricky bit is, how do we work out on what everyone agrees on when people see all these different chains?
Yeah.
We have to find the prefix. Everyone agrees on, then when we've agreed on it, and we know that everyone's agreed on it, we are never going to go back. And BEEFY?
Yeah.
BEEFY, okay, the problem was, in Grandpa, because we thought that it might be slow, everyone votes on different chains. Maybe these chains have different lengths, and even if people agree, they're not voting on the same thing. So we work out the chain that people agree on. But maybe they're all on the same chain, right? But maybe this guy votes on a block this high, and then someone else votes on a block this high, and someone else votes on a block this high. And all these votes count for this block because it's all like, everything something's in the chain, all these votes kind of count for it. And that means that a finality proof of grandpa can actually have votes for different blocks.
Okay.
Not just the one you're finalizing.
Sure.
But maybe later ones on the same fork.
Right, but later ones imply the previous ones to be in a certain state.
Yeah.
Okay.
But now you have a problem trying to convince someone of this, so I have to give them these things, and I have to show that this one's an ancestor of this one, which involves a longer proof, and then in any case, I need like 1,000 signatures for Kusama. So we still want to do that in Polkadot, right? We still want to have 1,000 validators.
Yeah.
We're just not there yet. So this is going to be slow to verify. So the idea behind BEEFY was, we did grandpa, and it turned out to be the right thing for deciding something's final, but it's not the right thing to convince someone else that something is final. So we had this problem that we were trying to work out.
Why isn't it the right thing, right? Because this is getting the problem because Ethereum can't verify what's true, what's the final state of Polkadot, right? But without BEEFY, right? That's the issue.
So Polkadot doing grandpa proofs were expensive. We're doing signatures with a different curve. Everyone uses curve 25519. Ethereum can do this sec P256K1, a different elliptic curve.
Okay.
We're doing different hashes. Of course, Ethereum could do nicely. We need to put in all these signatures. We need to verify them, which probably was like 1 million gas each for each of these, one of 1,000 things. And so we can't even do a small number of them. And we had to put on all these headers for things in between. It just was too much.
Got you.
So we had to start again and ask, how can we do this in a thing that doesn't depend on the fact that we have 1,000 validators? BEEFY is another complicated protocol. We came up with 2 options. We went with the crypto economic one. We went with that. It's not as good as the snark one.
Okay.
We know this. We're working on the snark one.
Snark is in the zero knowledge world, is that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Everyone likes to talk about crypto economics, but crypto economics is hard. It's easy for random people to come along and code crazy stuff, and we saw that in DeFi. Sure. Everywhere. The trouble is, it kept on getting broken.
Yes.
Things based on crypto economics, they can be easy to come up with, but they can be hard to make secure. It's all about incentives, and you have to think of everything. Maybe this other thing that you didn't think of breaks all your incentives, and the thing that just works most of the time doesn't work.
Okay.
And that makes it much harder to deal with. So the availability and validity protocol for parachains, so that's a crypto economic protocol, and the auditors came up with 500 different things, and we fixed them all. Trust me, it works, and we're going to try and show it works, but it's complicated.
Yeah.
But if you do the fancy cryptography route, it's hardest to get there. It's hardest to understand what it does. We do with the ZK route, this complicated maths, and only a few coders know how to code it. But if you send a few people over to do this thing for a year, then it's really nice and modular. Because you don't have to worry about some incentive you never thought of. Some sort of situation where some outside thing puts a bigger economic force than you thought was possible.
Right. The incentives can go so wrong, right?
Terra Luna's got to be the classic thing.
Oh, sure, yeah.
The classic things. Okay, now we have a dependence on Bitcoin. We didn't think that was possible.
Right.
That was beyond their model, that someone would short Bitcoin.
Okay, yeah.
And then it just broke everything. Yeah.
Wow.
We cannot do 1,000 signatures, even with Ethereum-friendly cryptography, Ethereum-friendly elliptic curve keys. So the simple idea was we do random sampling. We claim a bunch of people signed it, and you choose, and the smart contract on Ethereum chooses these guys at random, and we give them the signatures.
Okay.
And that means we need randomness from Ethereum. And for this turned out to be complicated. It was actually easier with proof of work than proof of stake. It turns out that proof of stake is not always good for randomness, and this is a problem that affects all of us, and we have to wait some time, and we had to do some analysis of how many guys we needed to sample. It was way more than we expected. So we have a delay of 4 epochs, and they're each 13.5 minutes. No, it's maybe 6.5 minutes. 26 minutes, I think, from the transaction that claims something to the transaction where we can finally get this through.
Okay.
Right, that's bad. We don't want a 26-minute delay. Also, we've given loads of stuff. The alternative, we're trying to get into like Substrate, like our guy side. We have crypto implementers here in Web3 Foundation on the research team. It's been trying to get like BLS signatures into BEEFY. When we have those, we can put in a snark that verifies them, and we'll get rid of this latency. I mean, it still won't be that cheap, but we'll get rid of this latency, and we'll get rid of some of the weird corner cases that you just have when you have these cryptoeconomic protocols.
Okay, so this is an upgrade to BEEFY that would be coming later.
That would be an upgrade to BEEFY that would come. Well, it could be coming quite soon. But yeah, we need to get the snark part ready. There's lots of things that are going on.
But right now, I mean, so if Snowbridge were to launch with BEEFY, let's say in 3 months, we're going to have this 26-minute delay still?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what the prototypes, the things that have been ordered, are the things that are kind of ready to go and just waiting for these guys to have their BEEFY keys. That's like...
Yeah, right. No, we're working on it. We have now we're using Shame, so I think we're getting somewhere. Yeah.
Once that's out, then maybe we can get the bridge deployed. But
excellent.
It's taken a lot longer than anyone would have expected.
Yeah.
But if we'd have known that it was going to take this long, we'd have gone the snap route.
Wow. Okay.
From the start.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sure.
It's always the way.
Now, the Polkadot to Kusama bridge needs BEEFY as well, right?
It's going to be using Grandpa. It can use. So if it used BEEFY,
see, I've been hearing mixed messages about that. Okay.
If it used BEEFY, it would be a lot more efficient. I don't know what's going to be deployed. The BEEFY bridge, it's going to be more efficient. That's what BEEFY was designed for. But like Polkadot is more scalable. We can have bigger things. So we have the right cryptography. So we can do grandpa justifications. We put it on the parachain, right? The bridge hub. It has the capacity to do this stuff. It's scalable. It's already more scalable than Ethereum, a lot cheaper. So yeah, there will be not too much trouble for the Polkadot Kusama bridge for just using grandpa. But if we somehow, for some reason, wanted to bridge to 100 substrate chains, then you'd want BEEFY.
Okay. But we're not going to have this delay on the Polkadot to Kusama bridge, right?
No. We're never going to use random sampling for that bridge.
Right.
We wouldn't have to do that even with BEEFY. Yeah, gotcha. Even with any flavor of BEEFY. Yeah, but then the BLS BEEFY will be much cheaper.
Beautiful. So what was the first network that, in your opinion, pulled off proof of stake in a reliable way?
The people that did Byzantine agreement, like Cosmos or whatever, they were doing it. Their design was fine from the start. Ethereum took it. They had a really good design for years and years and years, and it took a long time to get it out.
Yeah, right.
It all depends on your assumptions, right?
Okay.
So one of the differences, so the reason we couldn't just take Cosmos' solution was because their setup, they had less validators, right? 100, 150 guys. Their assumption was that these guys would have different power. Like, a different amount of stake backing you have different people. This is kind of centralized, of course, but in practice, proof of stake, proof of work, you can all be centralized if you have centralized hash power tokens, you're centralized, right? And so their distribution means actually you only need to check 6 validators and anything. Sometimes in Cosmos, because like all the stake backs, 2/3 of the stake backs them. But this doesn't make sense for a sharded system. So for Polkadot and Ethereum, for Ethereum now, Ethereum 2 as it is, we wanted validators to have equal power. And for the reason that we were doing things with random validators or random groups of validators. Like you can't choose 100 guys at random and have them. When you weight it, it's like you end up choosing the same guy 50 times. And does that make sense? It's much easier to do sharding, basically, when you have people who are with equal power. So Cosmos' solution is everyone backs one person. And then we add up the stakes, and then this is your power. And Ethereum's solution was, okay, we put 32 ETH, a fixed amount, behind each guy.
Yeah.
The problem with that solution was that you need the people who have the tokens to also be running nodes. And if they have lots of tokens, they're going to run lots of nodes.
Yeah, right.
That doesn't happen. So they ended up with a different vector for centralization because they didn't have delegation.
Yeah.
On the Cosmos side, it worked for their model. There are some problems, like what happens if guys go offline. So in order for me to get a return, I have to vote for one of the guys who gets in. Right? That guy doesn't get in, I don't get any money.
Oh,
I don't
okay.
get any money for staking.
Oh.
So what happens is that everyone votes for the top 100 guys, and even by the 100th, the votes are tiny.
Yeah, okay.
And now we take a few guys out, and the people replacing them have nothing. Where do they come from? Who's backing them? So they have almost nothing backing the new guy. Anyway, so it's not sort of that fault tolerant. So the solution is let's vote for lots of people. You know, so in nominated proof of stake, you vote for lots of people.
Right.
It's a burden on the user, right? You have to choose multiple guys. But
Sure.
the advantage, one of the advantages is that if any one of these guys getting in, your stake backs them, you get return.
Yeah. So just to clarify, right now I have my stake, and then I can choose up to 16 guys to back, as long as one of them gets in.
There's limitations right now with oversubscribing that maybe we can remove, but yeah. In principle, any one of them gets in, you're good.
Yeah.
Right? You get a return, but you get more return the less backing they have. And that means that potentially, if you vote for some guys that don't get in but might get in when people get out, then those guys get in, and when they get in, they'll be like close to the minimum backing. Everyone gets paid equally how much they're backed, because everyone has equal power. We pay everyone equally.
Sure.
So you don't vote for the guys who everyone's voting for.
Right.
You want to vote for the guys who no one else is voting for, or not. You know, just enough people to get the minimum.
Because I
then
get
you
a
bigger return.
proportional
Exactly.
reward, but with everybody else nominated.
So if it's twice as much as the minimum, there compared to this guy with the minimum, you get twice as less because everyone gets paid equally. Yeah, so you can vote for multiple people, and it's kind of sometimes better to vote for people that don't get in but might get in, or people that are less popular. But if you had one vote, you had to go for someone less popular who didn't get in, then you risk having no money.
Sure.
But in nominated proof of stake, you can get that. But that gives you vote for 6 people. Now you have to decide which of those guys we put in. Right. If you're voting for one person, it's easy. We just sort the list by the stake backing them. You take the top 100. No problem. Our optimization problem was a bit harder. So we had to look at sort of theories of proportional representation.
Yeah.
People came up with wild and wacky proportional representation things out. What they're worried about is that that minorities get represented.
Yeah.
But in proof of stake, it's a security problem. What we care about is that minorities don't get overrepresented. You can't get a third of validators with just 10 dot. That you don't want.
Of course.
So we had to sort of look at things from that angle. We came up with the problem, and then it turned out that this guy in 1895, Edvard Fragman, came up with the same thing.
Wow.
And it took us a long time going through talking to academics and things along with me and Alfonso, other researcher at Web3 Foundation. We talked to some people, we did some things, and it took us a long time before we discovered that this thing we came up with had already been come up with, and there were some heuristics this guy came up with, and we also had some heuristics and things, and that was the story of nominated proof of stake.
In what context did this Fragman fellow come up with?
In political systems, in particular, sort of proportional representation without parties.
Oh,
right.
Okay.
You vote for these guys and other people vote for these guys. And if you were voting for the same people, it'd be kind of proportional. But maybe you're not, because you can just vote for anyone.
Yeah, right.
Because parties are like form of centralization, right? As well. Everyone realized this. But if you don't have parties, what's proportional representation? How does it even make sense? And there were people that came up with rules for this problem because it's obvious. And there's still people working on it. We talked to some people like Alfonso and Jonas recently had this paper with this researcher who also looked at Fragman's method back in the day, and he wanted to compare things, and so they have some comparisons with live Polkadot data. They compared election systems on Polkadot data, and it turned out that what we're doing is basically close to the best thing we could be doing.
Fantastic.
So like blockchain, it's very diverse what you have to do.
Sure.
And I kind of had a hand in a lot of it. Certainly a lot, trying to supervise what now I'm trying to, going higher up, and I'm sort of supervising what other people are doing. And they're doing very different things.
What do you think about the, now we have nomination pools. We also have Bifrost, which is doing this liquid staking thing. Do you see these as points of centralization, or
So the first thing is that there was always centralization. There will always sort of be centralization.
Sure.
Someone like Zoo Capital comes in,
Yeah.
even though no one who there is, they somehow have massive amounts of people backing them. And they get massive amounts of validators. That's sort of intended.
Wait, no one knows who Zug Capital is?
Oh, I think people know. But
Okay.
not sure it was, but they had a website that just redirected the nomination page early on, for sure. And then they were completely stealth.
Wow.
Yeah, like they had a verified identity in which the link to the website just goes to the nomination page.
Okay.
So verified by whom? I don't know.
Okay.
But yeah, so these guys come in and they got lots of validators. And is this centralization? Well, in a sense, but it's democratic, right? The people voted for them. So then we had this complicated algorithm for nomination proof of stake, right? And we hit a problem because when we had like 25,000 nominators and they're each backing 16 guys, it got a bit complicated to do on chain. Now we could have like split this up over several blocks and Polkadot scalable, but we didn't have the code for that, so we just had to put in a cutoff somewhere. We're supposed to have this system where the little guys can stake, can have their say. So lots of little guys back a validator, it should get in. But with nominators, if we had to say you have to have 100 dots,
It's tough, yeah.
then that didn't work. So we needed a scheme where the complexity doesn't scale with the number of nominators. And nomination pools are that scheme. Are they a point of centralization? I don't think so. It's because you can have like lots of them. Just like with validators, nomination pools are themselves nominators. We can have 22,000 of them.
Sure.
If every or 20,000 nominators, including nomination pools. So there can be a lot of them, and they allow the little guys to get in.
Okay.
And we wanted nomination pools to not scale with the number of nominators. You just sort of record how many shares in this pool you have, and the pool doesn't even know who you are, but you know that you have these shares.
Gotcha. And then the liquid staking, so you basically have
this bit is a bit more dangerous. You also have to worry, are they going to pick too many? So the problem is DeFi, it's about packaging risk, right?
Interesting.
And we know what happens if you package risk and people aren't really aware, you end up with a subprime crisis, right? That was a thing of people packaging risk and say, okay, the risk has gone away now. No, it hadn't gone away. It was still there.
Right.
It's still mortgages somewhere behind it. So with liquid staking, I can transfer without waiting the unbonding period, but that means that when I buy, I'm buying the last guy's risk. Right?
Yeah.
I'm not. When I nominate, it's like someone gets slashed. And before I nominated them, I'm fine. But with liquid staking, not true. And so, of course, the buyers should hopefully be rational and look and see, like, are there too many guys? What happens if all these guys get slashed? It can happen. What happens if they're all evil and try and attack the system? I know. So we just have to hope that no one gets too much power and that people are rational, and if someone gets lots of dots, they go and diversify what they're validating with them.
We have to hope that people
the
are
liquid
rational.
stakers themselves should do this. They should look at diversifying their risk,
right,
and the risk of the people using them. And if the people who are running the liquid stakers don't do that, then the people buying the liquid tokens, they're taking on the risk. They should learn what the problem is, right? Because there's a danger of systemic risk, but it's fine if Bifrost don't have too many guys doing their thing,
right?
So there's an issue with DeFi, and we're paying a huge rate for staking, and then like, would I put my dots into DeFi when I could just stake them? I need a big return. It has to be high risk, and then the high risk stuff, it's high risk.
Well, it depends on your appetite, I guess.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But so low risk stuff, and people like Interlay wanted dots to back Bitcoin. That's low risk. It becomes fantastically expensive if they have to compete with staking. Unless we reduce our inflation across Polkadot, maybe we should. Maybe there's always debate about, or should be like active debate about which way we're going to go.
I feel like that debate is rumbling.
Yeah, there's people who have different opinions, but I'm not seeing it out there so much.
Okay.
Yes, and liquid staking gives you a way around that, but it comes at a cost. And the main cost is the end user should look at this protocol and see what risk they're taking on, because you are taking on the same risks as if you were nominating yourself.
So we're talking about electing validators and solving this problem. But then we have this other interesting layer in Polkadot. This is the governance layer, right? And this is a layer that you played a big part in what we call the governance one. You were an active voter on Kusama on Polkadot too?
Less in Polkadot.
Okay.
I mean, occasionally I vote for things with a few tokens, but I wasn't in the council. So in Kusama, I was in the council, and from near the beginning.
Did you contribute to the theory of Gov1?
A little bit, yeah. I mean, the main design with the council and things like we wanted to design for quorum biasing. We had this thing where if the turnout was low, and it didn't come from the council, then there was a low chance of then you needed a bigger support threshold. All this stuff has changed with OpenGov, and it needed to be. We kind of think, okay, but it should not be the case that I shouldn't vote against something I don't want to happen, because voting against it would push up the turnout and make it more likely to pass. Yeah, right. So we came up with a formula where that didn't happen, where it was always fine to vote against if you believed against. With Gov2, with OpenGov, that didn't happen, right? We don't have that problem anymore. Now it's always the side with the most votes that wins, but when it wins, depends on these curves and things. Yes. We had to come up with it. We had to think of these curves. Wow. Someone had to think of them and work out if they made sense. Is it working out the way you theorized it would? Yeah, there's some things that I still think that we should change. Okay. So one of them is I think there's a bit of a bias towards no because of the way confirmation periods work. So the idea behind something like a confirmation period is that maybe a big whale comes in and we switch yes and something that no one was voting on because no was winning. Like so, if your side is winning, why do you bother blocking tokens? Yeah. It's like you might as well not vote. But then something comes in and it swings the other way. So we think, okay, we don't want to it's scary that this thing could just go yes and then could be decided straight away. So we'd have a confirmation period where people could say, no, we didn't want this, and start voting no quickly. The problem is that we don't have the same thing for rejecting. If something's about to fail, people can't come in. So if we go out of confirmation, it's like we have this timeout across the whole thing, and if we and the confirmation period can go beyond the end, but if it goes to no beyond the end, it's suddenly out. Yeah, and the problem is that things always end up confirming towards the end. Like sometimes stuff can be close to 50-50. Like we need to wait. If you have a low turnout, we need to wait a long time for you to go over the curve. Yeah. If you're close to 50-50, we have to wait for a long time for you to get close to the curve. And the result is that we almost end up confirming at like the very last minute. Yeah. And that means we always go over the end, and that means that we can suddenly get off no, suddenly get a thing for no. So I was kind of looking at things. Maybe we should have rejection period. Oh, that's interesting. Okay, so if we're in the confirmation period and we swing to no, and we're out of time in the decision period, then it is off. Then it's the end, yeah. Oh. I mean, it always has to end somewhere, but it's like maybe we could be a bit more lenient with that, because it kind of gives a bias towards no for people that like jump in at the last minute. That's not ideal. The results of OpenGov have been interesting. I think as far as technology goes, upgrading the network, I think this has been pretty low drama, generally people falling in line with the expert opinions. But when it came to Treasury funds, we saw a lot more debate. What's your opinion on, do you think token holders have been good spenders or reckless spenders or too conservative? What's your thoughts? So it's been swingy, right? So that was the thing, people with and especially on Kusama, like people were spending like crazy, and then everyone says, no, we should go against, and then they stop spending. Right. No, we don't pay RPC providers. And they don't pay people who we before we had like this retroactive funding deal going on, and if we don't pay people retroactively, that's a reputation hit. Exactly right. How are people going to come back? How are we going to get RPC providers in the future? Sure. If it's just random what happens with this. I don't know. So I kind of politically think that the Kusama voters and Polkadot, both of them, they have been a bit more fiscal conservative. They're certainly way more fiscal conservative than we used to be in the days of the council, right? Yeah, absolutely. It's like with the council, you're publicly accountable. Most of the time we come up with sensible stuff. Everyone votes yes. And if you vote no, you then have to go and tell people why you vote no. Yeah. They're going to ask questions. But in OpenGov, the people can just vote no and no one knows. Absolutely. Yeah, some of the community have been very fiscally conservative. I'm not sure I believe in that. I think that it's part of the deal with cryptocurrency is always, we raise this amount of thing, we have to have this amount of interest, we need to spend the money to keep the interest going, in the hope that eventually this thing takes off or it dies.
Right.
and there's no like staying still here.
That's right.
It's not like if I vote no, then and we don't get this awesome thing, but also less people sell tokens. But that doesn't matter if people, whether how many tokens people sell doesn't matter unless there's people to buy them.
Right.
Like demand also matters, so we have to like match this thing up. And I think we need more experiments with Kusama.
Wow.
And we've kind of stopped, and that's unfortunate.
For the first time on Polkadot, we have this single actor with a very large stake, and this is the Giotto character.
Yep.
He's very liberal with spending. He wants to get things done. He doesn't want Polkadot to die. What are your thoughts on this? People complaining about whales voting and all this stuff.
Always the problem with the whales, it depends on how, if they vote for everything of one flavor, someone votes for all the content creation, we get lots of good content, but no one's controlling it, right?
Yeah.
And really, you'd think we'd have to do other layers, like WAG Media was a good plan in that direction.
Oh, thanks.
So yeah, I mean, we had some fun things like the dead meme, and this latest incentivizing voting. I think that for that, enough people came out and said, no, it's a nice idea. Maybe something like it could work, but not anything this crazy.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
The hope is with whales that there's always bigger whales.
That's the thing. Yeah.
They just have to incentivize them to get out there. Yeah.
Now, you were telling me that you are about to publish something new, something you've been working on for a while. Why don't you tell us what it is first? Okay.
So the thing with when I say we've been working on it for a while, we've been working on it for a while since 2019. The Parachains team have been working on it for years, and we've had it in production in Polkadot and Kusama for years. What I mentioned, talking about is this availability and validity protocol, which really needs a better name. We might come up with one. We'll see.
Okay.
For securing parachains. So Polkadot is just a lot more scalable than other sharded systems. We're not exactly a sharded system. This with things like CoreJam, we can do more than just sharding.
Yeah.
And more generally to blockchain scaling solutions, we came up with something very nice, and it's being used in Polkadot right now, and not a lot of people know about it.
Yeah, tell us.
So this is how do we secure 100 parachains with 1,000 validators, or even 1,000 parachains with 1,000 validators, or 1,000 cores in the new way of looking at things. The sort of traditional way people did sharding is they put a lot of validators in every shard. Like they said, we'll have a lot of validators, and then we'll divide it randomly into subsets, who'll go and check each shard. And this is kind of inefficient because we need these guys to be 2/3 honest on each shard, and that means we need hundreds of guys on each shard, and that means we need hundreds to thousands of guys per, like maybe 1,000 guys per shard. And you can see that Ethereum went down that route. That's why they needed 1 million validators, why they were always aiming for 1 million validators. Now, we didn't think we could get 1 million validators. We didn't think there are 1 million validators.
Yeah, right.
Already not clear if there are on Ethereum, but in any case, this was never our model, so we had to be more efficient. Early thinking was we'd have fishermen.
Right.
This is the thing that optimistic roll-ups do.
This is people going and looking and trying to find mistakes and getting rewarded if they find it.
Yes. And if you have like a big popular thing that everyone cares about, everyone's going to check it.
Yeah.
But your little chain that no one cares about it, maybe no one checks it.
Yeah.
And now you want to send XEMs left, right, and center. You want to interoperate with all these other chains, and we have a problem that we can't. Our other chains now can't trust this little chain with their assets. We have to do reserve things instead of teleports and things. We have to be very careful about what we trust coming from these things because they're not secure. We don't want that with Polkadot. We want all our chains to be secure. And how do we motivate fishermen, and how are we sure that fishermen... There are other kind of problems, like how are we sure that fishermen can get the block? And okay, this one random person complains. Now what happens? If everyone checks, then they can just keep on putting down dot and getting lots of people to check. So they have to have a deposit. It has to be big, but if it's a big deposit, then there's less fishermen.
Right.
So we needed this availability system. We actually have we erasure code blocks. We had a bit of redundancy, and all the validators have a piece of this erasure code for every parachain block. Like, not everyone has every block. That'd be too much expensive, but everyone has a piece of the thing for every block. And this means we can get it so that a third of people can reconstruct any parachain block. A third of validators can reconstruct every parachain block. And now we're back to 2/3 honest. But this data is never going to go missing. Well, until we come to forget about it. So now we can go and check it. And then we had an idea we'd have random validators check. Right, that works. So you want to make sure that someone commits to something, someone says this is good, and now if other guys say it's bad, we can all check, and then we can slash someone. And as long as the guy who said this was good, as long as the block doesn't disappear, that's what availability is for. As long as the block doesn't disappear, and as long as they don't know who's going to check. So random people checking, like, sometimes there'll all be bad guys. Maybe if there's enough bad guys, sometimes there'll all be bad guys. And now they can just wait until there's bad guys checking. So they shouldn't know who's going to check. And we had to come up with a system with random people that random validators go and check blocks after we decided that this is probably what we're doing. And that's availability and validity, and that's what allows us to get down to validators checking 30 or 10 blocks. 30 validators or 10 validators checking a block, and us still knowing that it's still being very expensive to attack the system.
So this has been working very well for Polkadot. Once you make clear that this is what's happening to the rest of the world, do you think it will be useful to anybody else?
We've already given talks on this for years.
Yeah.
But I think people don't appreciate that Polkadot is technically. They do appreciate that Polkadot is technically good, but they just don't know about some of these details. Okay,
so what are our main methods of scaling past what we can do right now? You're following async backing? Is this a part of the solution?
Long ago, it's how things should have worked to start with.
It's how things should have worked to start with, okay.
Yeah, so again, when we're going back to why we need sassafras, there was this idea that we do a parablock every 6 seconds or something. We'd see the result of the last one, you'd do it, you'd send this thing to some collator, would do it, but the collator now has to do their job, and it has to be checked by validators, and all this has to happen in this small window.
Yeah.
And then when we added the availability thing in, we can't act on this thing until we decide it's available. But now if the next guy waits for that to build on it, it's 2 blocks, it's 12 seconds, and we're producing a block every 12 seconds, and it has to run in 2 seconds.
Yeah.
It's clearly wasting time. So what we want is us to be able to build on things a bit further back and be able to spend longer building blocks. If we're trying to do something complicated like snarks, we need much longer. And the sort of original parachain model didn't work with that at all. So async backing, now we can have a block every 6 seconds. We can be optimistic. We say, oh yeah, this thing's available. It's going to be fine. We'll build on it. And we can sort of produce this like a bit off chain. We can go ahead, or we can go out of sync. We can take several blocks to build something. If we build a power thread, it always made sense. And that will allow us to do more computation per parachain block, get more parachain blocks in.
Gotcha.
But of course, we're looking at things well beyond that. I mean, some of the ideas behind Core Time and Core Jam had people producing blocks that build on each other in the same thing. Parachains or other sort of systems, like having multiple blocks at the same time, and being a whole lot more flexible about how we were doing this. But eventually we'll run into, we're limited at 1,000 validators. We probably can't do grandpa with Ethereum's 1 million guys.
Okay.
So we'll have to do something else with 1 million. If we can get 1 million guys,
sure,
and they've shown it's possible, then we'd have to do something different to scale to the 1 million parachains.
Okay.
We have ideas, of course. Let's do multiple relay chains, maybe hierarchical, maybe multiple. It's not always clear the difference, really.
Yeah.
This protocol we came up with, availability and validity, it works on the bottom layer. So people had this idea behind hierarchical relay chains, but really the relationship between the relay chain and the parachain is that we want that we have right now is going to be the bottom layer of this problem.
Yeah.
You're not going to sort of build downwards. We need to build upwards.
Okay, gotcha.
To new relay chains.
So those relay chains, they'll be a bottom layer to a whole bunch of other chains, but that will still be nested on top.
Right. Well, I don't know.
Maybe
we can go like we can have multiple relay chains that are already part of the same system.
Yeah.
Or
well,
maybe
like,
it will be hierarchical.
Polkadot and Kusama are different relay chains, and they're going to be.
Yeah.
Well, on what layer are they getting connected? Pretty far up.
So as I say, with BEEFY, maybe we can bridge like 100 chains.
Yeah.
All onto this one bridge hub, and if we can do that, then why not have 100 chains?
Sure.
And have them part of the same system, right? We want shared security.
Right.
All the way up. We can do that. We know how to do that. We just need lots of validators and lots of parachains, and we don't need. The demand isn't there, and the supply isn't there, but it might be.
Wow. Alistair, thank you so much for coming on the show here. Thanks for taking me down a few paths here that I didn't expect to go down and opening my mind up to everything you've been working on. I want to say thank you as well for all the work you put into making Polkadot possible. I know there are hundreds of people whose entire lives are built around Polkadot, and maybe they don't appreciate everything that's happening underneath whatever they're building, but it just wouldn't be possible without you and your teams dedicating your lives to making it.
Thank you. I enjoyed being here. Yes, and I should say that, well, Grandpa might have been me. All these other projects, we have a team here.
Yeah.
Like Alfonso for MPOS, Jeff for A&V, Handan and people for SAS for Us. And we have new people who are doing new things.
Beautiful. All right, thanks a lot.